you're getting older and you've noticed some changes. But is losing muscle as you age inevitable or preventable? Stay tuned to learn more about maintaining muscle mass as you age.
Healthy isn't just what you do, it's who you become. I'm Dr. Vicki, and this is Healthy Looks Great on You, a lifestyle medicine podcast to help you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your well-being. Life tested, doctor approved.
When my son was a little boy, he frequently challenged me to arm wrestle. I never let him win. But when he was about 12, suddenly he could overpower his mom, slamming my arm onto the table. I expected that would happen. What I didn't expect was that one day getting out of my car would feel like competing in an Olympic sport that I never trained for. The harsh reality is that losing muscle mass and strength starts in your early 30s and 40s. Getting older is not for the faint at heart. And the older you get, the more muscle loss accelerates. I guess they don't call it over the hill for nothing. Up, up, up the hill, then whoosh, you're flying down at terrifying speeds. Loss of muscle mass can reach 8% every decade, and it becomes more pronounced after age 65. Today, we're going to talk about sarcopenia, what it is, why it happens, when it happens, why it matters, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Let's go to mini medical school and start with a definition for sarcopenia. Sarco comes from a Greek word that means flesh. Penia has its roots in Greek mythology, and it indicates poverty. Poor flesh. Sounds about right. But medically speaking, sarcopenia refers to the progressive shrinking of muscle fibers and the gradual loss of strength that happens as we age. And don't you hate it when someone says, at your age? But that doesn't mean there's nothing you can do about it, and it's never too late to start. To pass your mini medical school exam, you're going to need to know the details. Sarcopenia means that both the size and number of muscle fibers decreases. And it's not the same as atrophy, which is where your muscle wastes away, either a little or a lot, but the number of fibers stays the same. Atrophy is loss from lack of use, like when your arm shrinks after weeks in a cast. Kind of like that wool sweater that you put in the dryer. It shrinks. But unlike a sweater, it can recover. And sarcopenia is different because it's whole body age-related decline in both the size and the number of muscle fibers. But why does it happen if you aren't in a body cast? Well, first, let's blame hormones. That's always a good scapegoat. As you age, hormone levels like testosterone and DHEA decrease. Both men and women are affected by this, and sarcopenia doesn't discriminate. It affects men and women equally, and another hormone called insulin-like growth factor 1 decreases too, and that also causes loss of muscle. On top of that, your body just doesn't respond to proteins and amino acids like leucine the way that they did in the past. We call that anabolic resistance. And those are things you can't control, but that doesn't mean there's nothing you can do. There are reversible causes that include inactivity, obesity, lack of adequate nutrition or protein intake, and insulin resistance, which also hangs out with obesity. And those aren't necessarily reversible, but it is possible to move the needle. Okay, you just heard me mention protein. And I know how obsessed everyone is with protein, and you probably think I kind of hate on it a little. Do I think you need adequate protein intake? Absolutely. But I don't think you need to buy a candy bar or a milkshake just because the label says it has a bunch of grams of protein. For review, the minimum recommended daily allowance for protein is 0.36 grams per pound, or 0.8 grams per kilogram. And that's a lot of math, and I don't really care that much for math. So what I did is put a link to the USDA online tool in the show notes so you can calculate your own protein needs. But if you're trying to build muscle, you do need more than the minimum, around 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram. Now, if you live in the United States, you probably don't have any idea how many kilograms you weigh. But if you're 150 pounds, that's 70 kilograms. That gives you a little reference. Told you, math is hard, but here's the bottom line. Eating more protein without actually using your muscles won't build them. Your body can't knit biceps out of wishful thinking. And in fact, excess protein is stored as fat. So there's that. Adding protein powder to a smoothie or eating full-fat Greek yogurt, which gives you 10 plus grams of protein, also gives you 10 plus grams of fat. That doesn't help restore muscles. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that protein has 4 kilocalories per gram, and fat has more than double at 9 kilocalories per gram. So yogurt math doesn't add up. Now, to be fair, there is non-fat yogurt with up to 17 or 20 grams of protein. So if you love it, make sure you get non-fat yogurt. Now, let's leave arithmetic behind and talk about symptoms. Strength can be measured, and there's even a test that assigns a score so that your healthcare provider can decide if you meet the diagnostic criteria for sarcopenia. But most of it is common sense. If you can't walk without assistance, you're going to have a higher score. Plus, you're at risk for falls, which are a major cause of losing your independence as you get on up in years. If you can't get out of a chair without pushing with your arms, then you could benefit from strengthening your legs. Decreased grip strength sounds clinical, but in real life, it looks like, hey, can somebody please open this jar for me? When your walking speed decreases, everybody's waiting on you to catch up. And listen, this can be a predictor for serious things like dementia. And normal walking speed for an adult is about 3 to 4 miles per hour. Your ability to climb stairs is an indicator of both your cardiovascular fitness and leg strength. There are a couple of different stand tests that have been studied to predict health and longevity. Standing on one leg like a flamingo for 10 seconds indicates good balance, and it takes a little focus too. The ability to sit cross-legged and stand up without rocking or using your arms is a good indicator that you have some basic core strength. Now, remember when I said it was hard for me to get out of the car? Well, I was commuting for several hours a week, and I was sitting way too much. I lost strength and flexibility, and my back hurt all the time. But just because I got out of shape didn't mean I couldn't get back in shape, and you can too. Getting older is inevitable, but let's talk about what you can do to lessen the loss of muscle as you age. And number one is eat a balanced diet. You do need protein, you need enough protein, and you need quality protein. And you can get that from meat and dairy, but that's where you'll also get a lot of saturated fat, not the good kind. Food sources with high quality protein include soy, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and green peas, which is my preferred source of protein in smoothies. Yes, you can add pea protein powder, but a 1-pound bag is about $20 for 20 servings, and a value brand package of frozen peas is less than $1, and you can get 2 to 3 servings out of that. So it's half the price with all of the nutrients the way it was created. Other veggie sources of protein are spinach, broccoli, and mushrooms, which I often use as a meat substitute. I wonder if sometimes you wish you could just go to the grocery store with me and we could just hang out in my kitchen. We could cook together. Honestly, I'd love for you to do that. And I'd like to invite you into my head to see how I made decisions and how I grew these biceps. And honestly, the hardest part isn't knowing what to do. It's having some support and accountability while you do it. And speaking of support, I have something exciting for you. Starting January 5th, 2026, I'm opening the doors to the Healthy Looks Great on You Lab. And this is a private community where we take everything you hear on this podcast and actually turn it into real life results. Think of the lab as my real grocery cart, even on days when I throw some chips and cheese dip in there. My actual workouts, scaled for beginners and beyond. Simple meals and protein guidance that don't require a PhD or a personal chef. Weekly coaching and habit support so you know exactly what to do next. And most importantly, a circle of women your age walking the same path towards strength, energy, and confidence. It's a behind-the-scenes, real-world, no judgment lifestyle medicine with me right beside you. So if you've ever wished you could follow me around the grocery store or peek into my routine to see how I stay strong in my 60s, this is it. But it's even better because we're doing it together. If you're interested in more details about the lab, check out the link in the show notes or just go to healthylooksgreatonyou.com/lab. Spots will be limited so we can keep things personal. I'd love to see you there. I'm so passionate about coming alongside people and helping them change their habits and make healthy choices. But you know, a once-a-week podcast is probably going to fill your ears and not show up as real results. Besides, I like company, and I think there's a lot of power in doing this together. So check out the Healthy Looks Great on You Lab coming January 5th. Now, a healthy diet requires balance, and a balanced diet also includes carbohydrates, the good kind, as well as healthy fats, and those are the unsaturated fats like olive oil, nuts, seeds, and avocado. Eating a balanced diet, though, won't make your muscles strong. But when you're eating healthy foods, it is easier to build lean muscle mass because your body needs energy. And you need to burn that energy with exercise. And it is never too late to start moving. The coolest thing about fitness is that your body starts benefiting as soon as you start. So start wherever you are and don't quit. Start slow, but don't necessarily stay slow. Keep building your fitness one workout at a time. The key is consistency. More is better, but a little is better than none. The recommendation is 150 minutes of moderate cardio. That's 2.5 hours of activity every week. And it needs to be strenuous enough that maybe you can keep talking, but you don't have enough breath to sing. So yes, strolling is better than sitting, but moderate exercise means you're pushing yourself a little. And 4 out of 5 adults don't get enough exercise. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go to the gym every day, but it does mean you need to do something to get your heart rate up, like brisk walking or riding a stationary bike. And you can do that while you're listening to podcasts. And if you want bigger muscles, you have to give them something to resist. Lift weights, use bands, or you can use your own body weight, like push-ups and planks. Flexibility and balance are also important. But it's important to do the things that you enjoy and find ways to incorporate more movement into your day and stick to it. Loss of muscle can be reversed. And if you don't value strength, then at least make sure you have long-term care insurance. And I say that with empathy because, listen, the stakes are high. Here's why it matters. Lifting weights or doing resistance training can lower your risk of a heart attack, of a stroke. It can help control high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, and excessive weight. You are more likely to live longer, keep your range of motion, and maintain your independence. Not only are there long-term benefits, but moving actually reduces joint pain and low back pain. I know that seems counterintuitive, but it is true, and you're never too old. The bottom line is, if you want to build muscle, you've got to work at it. Eating protein is not a magic bean that makes you wake up buff. However, beans are a great source of protein. They're healthy, and healthy looks great on you. To find out more about the lab, go to healthylooksgreatonyou.com/lab. I'll send you the details, and I would love to see you there.
The information contained in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not considered to be a substitute for medical advice. You should continue to follow up with your physician or healthcare provider and take medication as prescribed. Though the information in this podcast is evidence-based, new research may develop and recommendations may change.